everyone. We're here to talk about holiday survival. I'm Dr. Diana Bittner, Chief Medical Officer at True Women's Health, and joined tonight by my 4 partners. One is not present with us physically, but she'll be here by video, so we're so excited. Everyone say hello.
Hello.
So I'm so pleased and proud that my partners here share our vision at True, that all of you out there are living your best life, you're living your truth, and that that everyone, like, their goal is what they're living. And so we talk about how can you prioritize yourself and still do all that you love to do. So what we're going to do tonight is run through some things that we really feel strongly about as a checklist. So that's why I'm here. If you guys all want to talk about, why are you guys here tonight? What is your intention?
I think that holiday season can be a really busy, demanding time, and it's sometimes it's really good to just revisit some self-care tips that really can keep you replenished.
Awesome.
I agree. Yeah.
And so we're here. We're going to start with, we're going to run down the list. And the first item we want to talk about is number 1, Suzanne. I know you wanted to talk about putting yourself first.
Yeah, the holiday season can be a really busy, demanding time. And so it's a time that commonly the default is to focus on everyone else and get really busy and overwhelmed with all of the things that need to be done for the holiday season. And so just as a reminder that it's really important at some level to be able to put yourself first and remember that in order to kind of be your best self, at some point you have to spend time to replenish it. And so I think of it almost like a bank account, making some deposits. If we don't do that, at some point, it's not going to be your best self. And so, not only spending time, but actually just prioritizing it so that it doesn't get filled in with other things. And also just knowing, like, what are the things that recharge me. Sometimes it's, you get busy and you think, if I go grocery shopping for the family, that's going to make me feel good. But is that really is that really time for self? So knowing what it is it a girls' night out? Is it a massage? Is it taking a bubble bath? And just really prioritizing that and making that a part of your life and making it a habit. But so important, more than ever in the holiday season that's so busy and demanding.
Yeah, I think some people just forget, like, they put everybody else so far above them that they forget that, oh, that's right, I'm holding everything up, so I also need to take care of the foundation, right? Yeah. Like, that's not selfish, it's selfless to take care of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
So super important. Today I was talking with a patient and she was saying that, she just didn't think she had the time. And I said, well, what's your barrier? And part of it was she just wasn't scheduling time for herself.
Yeah, it's definitely an intentional thing. It doesn't come naturally this time of year, especially. So, yeah.
Exactly. You've got to make time for it. And I know, Dr. Mueller, this fits right in with what you wanted to talk about, setting boundaries.
Yeah, I think it's important to set boundaries with yourself and with others. It's a really busy time of year. And so setting realistic expectations for yourself and for others, and know your limitations and what your priorities are, kind of what Suzanne was saying. I kind of describe it like a gas tank in a car, right? Every time you take a drive, you're taking some of the gas out of the car. Every time you say yes or sign up for something, you're taking some energy from yourself. And eventually that tank is empty and we only have so much energy. So learning to say no when that tank is empty is really important, or maybe reprioritizing things. I think genuinely we want to make everybody happy, but no, it's okay to not have everybody in your life be happy at all times. You have to take care of yourself. And I think clear communication is really important. So communicating with those in the house, or maybe if you're going to visit families. And I know we have this fear of wanting, to not hurt people's feelings, but it's okay to say no. It's okay to say, I can't do all of this, and to realize that that's a realistic expectation to be able to say no. And I think it takes practice to set boundaries. It's not something that happens overnight. There's books about it. And I think over time, I've learned to say, I can't do all of this. I can only do so much, and just run on what tank you have. And sometimes everybody's gas tank is different.
Yeah. I sometimes have to say no to myself. Like, I want to make a gourmet meal that will take 4 hours versus let's make some pasta and sauce and enjoy people, right? So it's so much help.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's about the happy memories. It's not about the dish or, they're going to remember you being stressed or you running around crazy. So just taking time.
Right.
Yeah,
and saying no to 10 cats, right? Only 4.
Way to say no. Good job.
Good job.
I'm trying. And I guess that brings us to Megan. Like,
Simplify, make it simple. You can't do everything. Like Trisha was saying, you've got to prioritize. There's no way in this season of life and this season of time that we can do it all. So between work and family and commitments with parties, if you can pass things off to other people, please do, and ask for help, and say no. You don't have to do all the things. I think, every day there's 1,000 different things on our checklist, and maybe prioritizing which 5 or 10 we can actually get done. Right.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Less stress equals more joy.
Yes.
Agree. Grateful for the simple. And then Dr. Egan she filmed a video for us talking about nourishing your body.
Hello, all my lovely ladies of True. I'm here to talk about tip number 4. So we don't really recommend that concept of like saving calories before going to a Christmas party. I know it seems to sort of make sense in a way that you're going to say, you know what, I'm not going to eat all day, therefore I can eat whatever I want at a Christmas party. But what tends to happen if we don't eat all day is we tend to overeat way more than we anticipate at a party, and then maybe not make the best choices, right? Instead of having that one dessert, maybe it's 3, 4, 5 portions of a dessert, which in general ends up being more calories on the back end. So the best thing to do is to have a good satiating, maybe breakfast, a light lunch, even a protein shake before going to that party to get those biochemical signals of satiety going. So when we walk in, we're ready to eat, but we have a good sense of control when we're eating some of those less healthy foods. Okay, we talked about not saving calories, but it is a time to maybe think about saving sugars. So a lot of times at Christmas parties, one of the joys is having desserts and sweets, which tend to be high in sugar. So days like this, it may be a good idea to focus on like a lower carb, high protein breakfast, so you're saving some of those insulin spikes just for later and in that finite amount of time, right? So this is a morning, maybe you're having, hard-boiled eggs and cottage cheese versus oatmeal, right? And again, for lunch, maybe you're leaning on some, healthy fats and high proteins over a higher carbohydrate meal. Again, whatever works for you, where you find the most satiety, is always the best choice. So learn to listen to your body, but tend to stay away from those high sugars the first part of the day if you know you're going to be eating treats later.
Great tips as always. And Dr. Egan also has tip number 5, move for energy, not perfection.
All right, all. Tip number 5. Boy, holidays are stressful and there's so much to do. One of the first things that falls by the wayside is our exercise and movement, because we have so many things going on. The weather is not ideal. And all of a sudden, we just find ourselves getting in less than 2,000 steps a day and really kind of Xing out our exercise plans. During the holiday season, reflect every week on whether or not you're moving. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Maybe you're not necessarily doing your top-notch training where you're getting in over an hour of exercise 5 to 6 times a week, but that's okay. Still think about moving your body. Maybe it's going for a walk even around your yard and appreciating the beauty that is winter here in the Michigan area. Maybe you're just dancing it out to Christmas music because that's just totally fun and that's what your body needs. Maybe it's even just 5 minutes at the end of the day, doing a body scan, feeling where your body's tight and just stretching out your back, your shoulders, your pelvic floor. Even those 5 minutes are so important and nourishing to your body during this ultra stressful time. Another thing to think about is if we're really getting stuck in that craving cycle and getting all those craving waves, we see cookies everywhere and desserts and wine that our families and friends have brought over, and we feel that we just can't get out of that loop of not thinking about all those treats, that can be a really good time to go outside and walk around for about 10-15 minutes before deciding whether or not you want another treat. A lot of the times what we find is if we sort of move our bodies and nourish it with movement, that our minds are less satisfied with just that idea of having a treat. Not always, it's not always a cure for cravings, but it's definitely an amazing path to sort of get started. Remember, this does not have to be the best, most perfect exercise plan. Just take 5 to 10 minutes to fit in something that is movement and nourishing your body, and I can promise you, you won't regret it.
I love that. And it's all about, also prioritizing rest. So I want to talk about prioritizing rest. At the same time, we're thinking about exercise and maybe giving ourselves some grace from that workout plan. Again, it's prioritizing rest. And this is one of our pillars of our seeds, those 7 essential elements of daily success. Getting that sleep is critical, right? It's when we make our brain chemicals, our brain can rest from all the many thoughts and tasks of the day, but it's making sure we're getting those hours of sleep. Now, patients will say, I can't fall asleep. My mind is racing. I have this long to-do list. And so how can I get my mind to turn off? And this is where we can also pull in metered breathing, or that time where we can have a gratitude, get ourselves out of flight or fight, close our mouth, open our eyes, stare, and just breathe. If you like box breathing, if you like time breathing, but whatever it is, to think about what you're grateful for and just to be in your body and let your mind settle, every night before you fall asleep. Let's say you get into bed and your mind just goes again. Get up and do it again. Get into that settled place. Once you fall asleep, let's say you wake up at 3 a.m. How many women do that, right? So first of all, if you wake up at 3 a.m., say hello to your sisters out in the world, because lots of us are awake at 3 a.m. Same thing. Get up out of bed. Maybe go to the bathroom, drink some water, sit in a spot outside of the bed. Think about what you're thankful for. Breathe through your nose, calm your mind, and then get back in bed. One of the other tricks is to leave your eyes open. When you get into bed, you leave your eyes open, and it tells your body, I'm in bed, it's dark, it's sleep time, versus I'm closing my eyes and I'm seeing pictures of all the things that I need to be doing, right? So open your eyes, and all of a sudden your eyes are bobbing and you're out. Again, if you lay in bed, you can't fall asleep, get up, do it again, get back in bed. You need your sleep. Very high priority. And that leads into tip number 7, is this idea of mindful giving. It's focusing on meaningful gifts. And this is where I love to pull in the idea of intention. When we think about the hours after the mad rush of opening presents, or you go to an event and you're bringing gifts, or however that is, how do you want to feel when you get back in the car? How do you want to feel when everyone's kind of quiet and tired and rested after the chaos of presents? How do you want to feel? You want to feel connected. You want to feel that people were seen, that people were heard, right? That people feel satisfied. It's not about the most expensive electronic device. It's not about, extravagance. It's about things that are meaningful. They don't have to be expensive. So if you don't want to feel guilty that you spent too much money, or now that you've got all this credit card debt, it's like, okay, what is my intention? How do I want to feel when people open their gifts? I found that that's just something that has really helped me to not overdo it, and just settle into what does it mean to give a gift. If you guys have any insight on that, I know, Trisha, you've got 2 young boys, like it's hard, right?
It is. I find with them, they appreciate experiences more than gifts, because they remember that more than, some item they have on their Christmas list, but yet they always talk about experiences or things that we did together as a family.
I love
I think
that.
that's important.
Yeah, exactly. Very cool. And now we have tip number, whatever number we're at, 8. Suzanne, check in with your emotions. I love this.
Yeah, I think the holiday season is that time of year where sometimes emotions can run really high, and and those emotions might be positive, they might be negative, but it's a time that sometimes it gets really intense. And so it's really time to kind of stay grounded, stay connected. I always think about, focusing more on acceptance of emotions as opposed to sort of trying to control them or trying to increase the good ones and suppress the bad ones. And so, but, Christmas time, can be a really meaningful time where, sometimes it can be maybe the first Christmas that you're celebrating it without a loved one, or maybe it's the first Christmas with a loved one since getting married or something like that. And so it can be extra intense in times in terms of like what we experience. And so, some of us are really good with processing positive emotions, but not so good with bad ones, and vice versa. And so, having strategies and ways that we are able to sort of sit with them, be with them, accept them. Sometimes emotions can lose their intensity when we simply sort of acknowledge that they're there, take a deep breath and just sort of sit with it and be with it. And in that way, we're sort of owning it. And many times it can lose its power over you if it's something that is too intense or too strong to sort of deal with. And so that mindfulness, and, I think a part of being an authentic human being is to be able to have this very full range of emotions. And some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them are neutral, but that whole range is what makes us a human being. It makes us, really authentically able to participate with other people, and the season that we tend to have more connection with others as we gather around maybe family members that we haven't seen for months or maybe years. And so, I mean, sometimes that's even the intensity. It's like you're forced to spend a family afternoon with relatives that you don't even like. And so, how do you navigate through that and sort of actually look for a silver lining and sometimes even make that a healing experience? Yeah.
Suzanne, like you just put together so many powerful thoughts and valuable thoughts. So I know Missy will play that again, but really well done. That's so well said. It's to lean into those emotions.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so powerful. We have patients, just talked to someone the other day who's going through a divorce and isn't going to have her kids for a certain part of it. It's so hard. A lot of us have been there and done that, and it's just leaning in or lost loved ones. So you said it so well. Thank you for sharing. Authentic. Megan, talk about planning some downtime.
Yeah. So I think we're so busy this season, dashing from one activity to the next, depending on if you have kids, or maybe it's your first Christmas by yourself, or whatever that might look like. But I think we need to, as Tricia was saying, say no and put some priorities around it. Plan something for you or your loved ones. Maybe a movie day at home where we are wearing pajamas and eating popcorn all day, and we're not leaving and we're not doing activities, or whatever that looks like for you. But it's the season of busyness, and it doesn't have to be stressful. We can plan time to just be with our people who we want and doing what we like. And that's important too. So.
Perfect. And so I guess that fits into the next one of staying connected. So it's so important to stay connected. And we talk about coping a lot. Like, what are our coping mechanisms? And do we have our hormones and our brain chemicals in place to allow us to cope? Then we think about connection as a way to cope. And we know that women who cope well, they do three things well. Number one, they believe they deserve to be happy, right? And boy, that's tough if that's a challenge, but we want to work on that. Like, you deserve to be happy. I think that's a human right. We deserve to be happy. Number two, do you have a support network? And are you maintaining that? That means reaching out to friends, being intentional about creating time and energy and space to make that phone call, to make that coffee date, to say, hey, let's go for a walk. Are you keeping that support network around you? And then number three, are you asking for help when you need it? That can be one of the hardest things we do, is to ask for help. Ask for help with finances, ask for help to make a gift, to make a meal. But you know what? You would likely help someone else. Other people feel really good when they get to help you. So again, these three things are critical. So staying connected is super important. Of course, I love to talk about sexual health. And so also staying connected with your partner for sexual health. And so if we think about using the sex deck, it can be a great stocking stuffer too, to order a sex deck for your partner, your loved one, but to use that sex deck to look at what are the reasons that might be challenging us to not maybe be connected? What are the reasons that we maybe don't feel that same desire? And so making sure we're looking at that and we're able to address those reasons. So again, staying connected for coping, but also create more warmth and health and intimacy in the season. I see Joan has a question: how to deal with quilt about wanting to spend time alone. All right, that's a tough one, Joan. Like, it sounds like you want to get a quilt done for a loved one, but yet you want to spend time alone. I guess quilting is a time you can be alone, right? So there's a lot. So however you can let us know how we can support you on that one. I want us to think about too, some reflection on joy. Like, what does joy maybe mean to you, or how do you see that as part of the season?
Yeah, I think joy is something we create and make for ourselves. I think sometimes we get stuck in looking to find joy someplace, and the essence of that is really that we create it within ourselves. And there are people sitting in prison who find joy, and so it's really that inner experience that we choose to sort of manifest in the world or share with others. And just really focusing on the positive piece of it. There's always something positive to gain from every situation and time. And so I think, some of the basis of joy is that you have an attitude about that.
I love that. I even think about Joan making her quilt. Just think about, it's focusing on the little, like, how does that fabric feel between your fingers? What do the colors look like? How does it feel to have it accomplished that you did one more square, right? So it's just in those very little things. How does a food smell as you make it?
I think we forget sometimes just the simple things that can bring us joy. Like, we focus on these grand, big things or all that chaos in our life during this time. And sometimes it's just the simple things of going out for a walk, or like Megan said, like movie time, like we'll do movie time with hot cocoa together. And so just sometimes the most simple things that we often take for granted can bring joy. And so I think that's important to focus on some of those things too.
And I think setting our expectations around the holiday too, with doing all the things and being there for every single thing. You can't. So setting your expectations and practicing some of the things like saying no and having self-care, those are really important and will help provide joy, throughout the entire season. So.
Oh, thanks, Carrie. I love that. Yes, not quilt, guilt. You're right. Joan might be talking about guilt. Hey, we can talk about quilts and guilt and all together.
I was going to get back to the quilt and say, this joy thing is about how we stitch the tapestry of life together and weave it into this joyful focus.
But yes, there's guilt, Joan. So now, thanks, Carrie. Now I see how Joan was going. Like, how do we deal with the guilt of not being there for everyone else? So
I think that takes practice, right? Like, we shouldn't feel guilty, but we do. I think asking for help, but it just takes practice setting boundaries in your life, not even just during this time of the year. Like, it's not something that happens overnight. It's small steps, and how do you kindly communicate that to others? And so it's a practice, I think.
I always think about the guilt piece though, as, you can't be your best self and be all of you unless you take some time to replenish and focus on what it is that makes you you. Yeah. And so that sort of dissolves the guilt a little bit, because it really does make you more able to spend time, serving others. But at some point you have to start with yourself.
Yeah. And I think about too, how can you combine, like, if I don't exercise, I get cranky, I feel kind of mad, I feel maybe resentful. So maybe even if I'm not going to see you for, I might be an hour later than maybe we planned. Like, hey, could you push it out an hour? Because I really need to get on the bike for half an hour and then quick jump in the shower. Like, even just that sort of thing. Like, how can we maybe just shorten time, not maybe cancel, but just shorten it to make sure maybe you take a walk before you go see some friends, or, whatever it is. But how we can combine that self-care with exercise, that's also, of course, really good for us. Yeah, I love that. Appreciate that, Carrie, helping us out. And, lastly, we talk about embracing perfection, or imperfection rather. Like, things don't have to be perfect. You know, again, for me, it doesn't have to be a Martha Stewart 8-course spread. It doesn't have to be a homemade cranberry wreath like I used to make back in the day. Like, it can be, let's go in the woods, let's get some pine, let's make things smell good, and all of that. So how do you guys think about that? Or what maybe is a challenge for you?
I think some of the best memories come from those imperfections, right? Like when I reflect back on holidays or wedding, like the stories we talk about are some of those things that didn't go as expected or planned. My Thanksgiving was that way. My son was sick. So here I had this, grand idea of going to the in-laws to have this wonderful meal. And I had to run to the grocery store. And as you guys know, we don't have a working kitchen right now, and try to come up with a meal. And while I was like, oh, I don't know about this, I made it work, and my son loved it. And so sometimes things don't go as planned, and those are the best memories you have later on. So it's okay for everything to not be perfect.
I was going to say that too, that often when things go wrong, there's this kind of unexpected gift that you get within it. Mm-hmm. And the other piece I think of the perfection part is, letting go of wanting things or having to have things like go a certain way. And so, becoming a bit more nimble about the fact that if it doesn't go, we can refocus, and this will be good too. And there seems to be a silver lining typically when things don't go our way, and we have to just re-navigate it.
Absolutely. I was just giggling about Celia and I were in the office today talking about decorating the tree. And so her boys were helping decorate the tree, right? And all the ornaments are clustered in one area, and, the tendency of like wanting to put them exactly where they need to go, and just the joy that she found in that. And we were just laughing about it, and it was probably a fun time for their family too. So yeah.
Yeah. Like I think of us with, Rosie, the puppy here roaming around right now. It's like on one hand, the house is crazy. She pulls stuff out. She loves to pull stuff apart. But these are the things we'll remember, not that the house looks exactly perfect or exactly picked up or, whatever she's going to drag in from outside. It's about the experience of, sometimes the joy is in the chaos. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate Lori saying the joy is in our sweaters, right? She said there's not an ugly sweater. I don't know. Trisha, show your sweater. I love the pug. You have to sit up. There you go. That's hilarious.
I think that might be, I don't even want to use ugly, just fashionable. I don't even know what to say.
It's challenging, fashion challenge. That's right. That's right. Well, all of you, we just hope that your intention is your reality, and that you can take care of yourself. Again, this doesn't mean to not serve others, but also to serve yourself. Again, at True, we just want to reach as many of you as we can to help support you in having your goals be your reality. And we just have a lot of fun at True. We love what we do, practicing great evidence-based medicine, but with a holistic approach, right? So it's looking at mindful, spiritual, healthy, physical, all the things. And we just wish all of you and yours blessed holiday season.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank you all.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.